The highest court in the land became the source of the lowest principles in our land. The illegitimate and ethically challenged far-right majority has fully captured our highest court and plunged it into a crisis of confidence and legitimacy. Because we can no longer trust the court to uphold the words engraved on the outside of this building behind us, equal justice under the law, we must fight to return balance and legitimacy to this court. It's simple, it's direct, and it's been done before, and it's constitutional. We must expand the court. We must pass our Judiciary Act, take back the stolen seats, and expand the United States Supreme Court from 9 to 13 justices. We got here because beginning in 2016, Senate Republicans began the process of stealing 2 Supreme Court seats. They started by breaking the rules for confirming justices and ended up breaking the court itself. After the February 2016 death of Antonin Scalia, Senate Republicans denied then-President Obama's nominee for Scalia's seat, Merrick Garland, a hearing and confirmation vote. They falsely claimed the vacancy could not be filled during a presidential year, and they paved the way for President Trump to make Neil Gorsuch his first Supreme Court appointee in early 2017. Then, in a head-spinning display of hypocrisy, when Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg died in September of 2020, Senate Republicans and Donald Trump rammed through the confirmation of Amy Coney Barrett a mere 10 days before Election Day. While millions of Americans were already casting ballots, the rules aren't sacred to Republicans, and neither are our constitutional rights. Congress must respond. If we fail to act, it will only get worse. The court is prepared to revoke everyday Americans' rights, reshape the checks that hold the president accountable, and reject the fundamental principles that created those rights. When something is this broken, we cannot agonize. We must organize to fix it. Expanding the court would quickly and directly right the wrong that has brought us to where we are today, with Americans' trust in the court at an historic low, and adding those 4 seats would be able to stop the Supreme Court of the United States from remaining the extreme court of the United States. We must pass this law and give President Kamala Harris the ability to expand the Supreme Court to give protections to all Americans. Now let me turn it over to my partner, Hank Johnson, from the House of Representatives.
Thank you, Senator Markey, and great to be with everyone today. Thank you for your leadership on this very important issue. And hello, everyone. Thanks for being here. We're getting rained on, but that's okay. Jeremy. This is a very important issue. Over the course of my congressional career, I have made it my mission to help restore the American people's trust and faith in our nation's highest court. And over the course of the last year, policymakers, including President Biden and the American people, have also concluded that we are dealing with a hyper-partisan, ideologically rigid, right-wing reactionary, arrogant, unaccountable, reckless, and corrupt United States Supreme Court. The result is a fractured democracy. The Constitution of the United States laid down a framework for representative democracy. A government elected by its citizens was to be a government of, by, and for the people. A citizen, where citizens vote for those who they want to represent them. A citizen is a person born in the United States or a naturalized human being, not a corporation. And to ensure that the basic and fundamental right to vote by citizens, for those persons who make the laws, and for those persons elected to carry out those laws, remained inviolate, the Constitution established a Supreme Court to provide a check and balance that onto two other branches of government. By turning on its head the delicate system of checks and balances that heretofore undergirded our democracy, the current Federalist Society curated United States Supreme Court has become a clear and present danger to the Constitution's foundational concept of liberty, freedom, and justice for all. In a massive and long-running power grab, the Supreme Court has weakened voting rights protections, seized power for itself by eroding legislative authority. It has eviscerated the concept that no man is above the law by bestowing absolute immunity for criminal liability for whoever is president. Excuse me, my screen is acting up. And it has simply taken power for itself. It has disrupted the delicate system of checks and balances that undergirds our democracy. It's a massive and unprecedented power grab by this United States Supreme Court that has taken power away from the legislative branch, redistributed power from the people to corporations and to itself. The court has become out of control, and so we must place it back under control. The quickest route to doing that is to pass the Judiciary Act of 2023, which I'm proud to sponsor in the House, along with my partner in the Senate, Edward Markey. It's time to get this done. I don't care how much it rains or how bad it might look. We'll continue to fight until we pass reform to our Supreme Court so that we can fix our fractured and broken democracy. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you, Hank. Yeah. Now we're going to hear from Lanita King, the National Director of Programs at Demand Justice.
Okay, I will try. There is mascara in my eye. Good afternoon. I'm Lanita King. I'm the National Director of Programs at Demand Justice. We at Demand Justice thank Senator Markey for being a leader and a leading voice on Supreme Court reform and holding our courts accountable. This past Supreme Court term, we witnessed a lawless court rule in ways that are inexplicable under our Constitution. From deeming judges as qualified to make decisions about medications, climate policy, and more, and to protecting broad immunity that puts presidents above the law, the extremist justices on the court have shown us their true colors and intentions again and again. This court has taken bodily autonomy away from women, has made us all prey to gun violence in public places, and has hamstrung our ability to fight climate change and protect our planet. Alongside these recent rulings, countless ethics scandals have confirmed that the right-wing justices are partisans in robes, accepting gifts that no other elected official would be allowed to, and behaving in ways that undermine the legitimacy of the judiciary. Term after term, the people of this country come away with fewer rights. We cannot and will not accept this as our new normal, and we are not powerless to stop it. Rebalancing the court, as the members gathered here today have a long history of leading on, would ensure that the court better reflects the values and the will of the people. Congress has the power to clean up this mess and restore legitimacy to a broken institution. In addition to rebalancing the court, we need reforms like term limits and binding code of ethics to ensure that our nation's highest courts work for all Americans and not just the rich and powerful. So thank you again, Senator Markey. Thank you again, Congressman. If he was here, I'll pass it back over to you.
You're great. Thank you. You're great. You're great. Thank you. Doug Lindner from the League of Conservation Voters.
Thank you so much, Senator Markey. I am Doug Lindner with the League of Conservation Voters. I think I picked the right haircut for today. What do you guys think? We at the League of Conservation Voters know that our climate, the air we breathe, the water we drink, and our fundamental rights are only as strong as the judges who will protect them. But the 6 MAGA justices on the Supreme Court have repeatedly twisted the law to undermine critical climate, clean air, and clean water safeguards. When the MAGA justices don't like the protections Congress provides for our environment and democracy, they gut them. When they don't like how agency experts enforce those protections, they fabricate new legal doctrines that tie the agency's hands. Last month, they froze a critical EPA protection against air pollution, just a year after rolling back Clean Water Act protections and 2 years after hamstringing climate action. Also, just last month, the MAGA justices decided 3 different cases upending decades of precedent and massively shifting power from public interest agencies like the EPA, as well as elected officials and voters, to the Supreme Court itself. Power across every area of public policy, power the MAGA justices can use to serve the political and financial interests of the big polluters, big business, and far-right politicians, so they can reward the billionaires and extremists who help them capture this court and who pay for their lavish vacations, so they and their friends can rule over us and roll back our freedoms for decades to come. These MAGA justices believe they can continue to wield this massive power for the rest of their lives, lawlessly advancing their personal agendas without principle, without ethics, and without facing any consequences. But the people are facing consequences. We face the consequences of dirtier air and dirtier water when environmental protections are rolled back by these same justices who have personal financial entanglements with the fossil fuel industry. Who accept private jet and yacht trips from billionaires, who roll back voting rights, carry water for insurrectionists, sanction corporate money in politics, and pursue partisan political agendas from the bench. We cannot continue this way. The people deserve a Supreme Court we can trust. Congress must act to deliver it. And so we at LCV are proud to stand with Senator Ed Markey and Congressman Hank Johnson in this critical fight to expand and rebalance the Supreme Court with 4 new justices who protect our environment, our democracy, and our rights instead of attacking them.
Beautiful. Beautiful job. Thank you so much. Oh, my goodness. Next, Karen Stone from Planned Parenthood Action Fund.
Thank you, Senator. Good afternoon. My name is Karen Stone. I'm Vice President of Public Policy and Government Relations at Planned Parenthood Action Fund, and I'm grateful to be here today with champions from across movements, all focused on establishing fairness, balance, and equity to the United States Supreme Court. I also want to thank Senator Markey, Representative Johnson, and their colleagues for their incredible leadership on this effort. We stood together just about a year ago to support the Judiciary Act. At that time, we were reflecting on how much devastation and destruction this Supreme Court had caused in the years since Roe was overturned. It stripped the people of the right to decide our own futures and to control our own bodies against the will of the people. And now today we're together again, and things have only gotten worse. We continue to see the ripple effect of the Dobbs decision across the country. It's clear our fundamental freedoms are fair game. As of Monday morning, when Iowa's abortion ban will go into effect, 22 states will have banned or severely restricted abortion. That's left tens of millions of people without access to care. Patients have to travel thousands of miles to access reproductive health care. Doctors are fearful of being criminalized for simply doing their jobs. When we think about our nation's federal courts, we have to think about now, we have to think about the future. These courts will continue to be used as weapons. And it's not just abortion rights that are under attack. We've seen the courts being used as chess pieces in the political games our adversaries are playing with all of our fundamental rights and freedoms. As part of a decades-long effort, our opponents have filled the courts with justices hostile to our rights to advance their dangerous agenda, attacking not just abortion rights, but racial equity, LGBTQ equality, voting rights, and much more. The bottom line is this: this country's courts are being used to take away our rights and our freedoms, and it must stop. In this country, your level of freedom cannot depend on your zip code, your income, or how you identify. It's exactly what the system needs, why the system needs to change. We know that systemic change takes time and it takes courage. We need to pass measures like the Judiciary Act, and we need to do so with the same determination of those who sit on the same court and use power to take away our rights. We need the Supreme Court to act as a backstop to protect our rights, which is why the system must change. Planned Parenthood is proud to support this legislation and committed to standing shoulder to shoulder with our partners. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Next, we got Alexa Barrett from Take Back the Court.
Thank you all for staying with us through the rain, and thank you, Senator Markey, and the Markey team for putting this event together. I'm Alexa Barrett. I'm Director of Communications for Take Back the Court Action Fund, and today I just want to talk briefly about what we saw from the court this summer. This term was a mask-off moment for John Roberts and his right-wing majority. In the past years, Roberts has tried to shield the supermajority's true intentions under the guise of moderation. But this term was a different story. The MAGA supermajority gave a thumbs up to fraudsters and people who want to buy off government officials. They denied our unhoused neighbors a basic human right by allowing cities to criminalize them for sleeping outside. They enabled perpetrators of gun violence to make our country less safe. And of course, the Republican justices anointed Donald Trump king, the ultimate returned favor for seating 3 of them on the court. Cruel and dangerous decisions are not new for this court, but this term is a little different because these justices are no longer pretending. They are done pretending that their decisions are based on anything other than their own ideology. This year, the right-wing zealots on this court showed us once again that for them, there is no bottom, no fundamental right, and no constitutional principle is safe from their power grab. That's why we're so grateful to be here today with Senator Markey and Representative Johnson, whose leadership on reforming and rebalancing this broken court has been invaluable in building our movement. The reality is, our democracy cannot function when a panel of ultra-powerful, unelected, unaccountable ideologues are intent on turning it into an oligarchy. So we urge our other elected leaders here in Washington to join the champions here with us today and their colleagues in co-sponsoring the Judiciary Act, because we need 4 new justices on this court who will abide by the rule of law and work on behalf of the American people, not billionaire benefactors and right-wing extremists. We can and we will rein in this out-of-control court, and expansion is how we'll do it.
Fabulous.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Next, we're going to hear from Christina Harvey, from the Executive Director of Stand Up America.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I am so excited to be here today with all of these amazing partners in the fight and in the rain. Thank you for that introduction, and thank you, Senator Markey, for your leadership, and to Representative Johnson for his leadership, working to fix a broken court that is putting our freedoms and our democracy in danger. I'm Christina Harvey, Executive Director of Stand Up America, and I'm here on behalf of our nearly 2 million members who are fighting every day, rain or shine, for the democracy we deserve, including a court that will protect our fundamental freedoms and keep us safe. I'm here as an organizational leader, but I'm also here as a mom who frankly is angry at a right-wing majority on this court that is constantly making decisions that make my 12-year-old daughter less free and less safe. Decisions only made possible by the 3 ultra-conservative justices who were appointed to this court by Donald Trump. This year, the right-wing majority on the court ruled that presidents are immune from criminal prosecution, overturned a ban on bump stocks used in the most deadly shooting in U.S. history, and allowed Idaho's extreme abortion ban to remain in effect for months, forcing hospitals to medevac pregnant women with medical emergencies out of state to receive care. And as if that wasn't enough, the court also made it harder for the experts whose jobs it is to keep our air and water clean, our medicines and healthcare safe, to actually do that. That's all after they overturned Roe v. Wade, resulting in 1 in 3 women living in states where they can't access abortion care when they need it, and overturned my state of New York's gun safety laws. Every American has been negatively impacted by the decisions of this court in some way. Polling released today showed that 3 in 5 Americans think that the Supreme Court is imposing an extreme political agenda. And that's because they are. It's time to restore balance to this hyper-partisan right-wing Supreme Court so that we can protect everything that actually makes this country great. The fastest way to do that is by expanding the court, and specifically by passing the Judiciary Act to add 4 seats to the court. The size of the court has already been changed 7 times in our country's history, and it is time to do it again. Democracy champions like Senator Markey and Congressman Johnson are fighting for reforms like the Judiciary Act from the inside, but they can't do it alone. We need their colleagues and leadership to do more. We need Congress to finally use its power to rein in and reform this court. Our members at Stand Up America have driven over 900,000 emails and calls to Congress in support of Supreme Court reform. demanding expanding the court through the Judiciary Act, passing a binding code of ethics, and term limits for current and future justices. And they will keep calling and writing until it is 1 million, until it is however many calls and emails it needs to be, until Congress finally acts.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you. Wow. Incredible. Thank you. And as the rain ends, so will our press conference with Stephanie Yost, Counsel and Senior Government Relations Advisor, Reproductive Freedom for All.
Thank you. I'm regretting complaining about the heat earlier this morning. Hi, I'm Stephanie Yost, Counsel and Senior Government Relations Advisor at Reproductive Freedom for All. I want to thank you all for the opportunity to be here as we gather to support a critical component of Supreme Court reform addressed by the Judiciary Act, expanding the Supreme Court. I'm going to say thank you to Senator Markey and Representative Johnson, not just for their steadfast support of reproductive freedom, but also for their leadership in returning legitimacy to our courts. After the Supreme Court took away our right to abortion over 2 years ago, and then bent over backward this term to leave access in limbo with 2 additional abortion cases, it's clear that we cannot rely on our nation's highest court to protect our fundamental rights and freedoms. This unethical, unchecked, and unaccountable MAGA supermajority on the court is responsible for the crisis we're in. As my colleague noted, abortion access has been eliminated or restricted in 21, about to be 22, and counting states following the Dobbs decision. As we've seen the terrible consequences of these bans in real time, people are being forced to travel hundreds of miles to get care. They're getting sepsis in hospitals and still being denied the treatment they need. And they're being denied the fundamental freedom to make decisions about their lives and bodies. Our rights and freedoms are on the line with real consequences. We must win back our rights, and that means fixing this broken court to stop this crisis once and for all. And fixing this broken court means doing everything in our power to restore the legitimacy of the court. And that includes expanding the number of justices and passing the Judiciary Act. So I again want to thank Senator Markey and Representative Johnson. Thank you.
Thank you. Great job. Thank you all so much. Are there any questions? Yes, ma'am. Who are you?
Hi, I'm working with Law 360.
With what?
I'm with Law 360.
Okay.
Have you spoken to the President at all about the Supreme Court reforms he's going to endorse? And any comment on what he said last night about that?
Well, I know the President is developing a proposal to deal with the illegitimate actions of this Supreme Court, and we've communicated to the White House in terms of our perspective on this. They know where we are, and we're also looking forward to seeing what the President is going to propose.
Do you have any idea on the timing?
I do not know that. Yes, sir.
Ben Weiss, Courthouse News. Are you involved in any discussions about potentially bringing the Skirt Act back to the Senate floor for a full up and down vote?
No. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Toby Radley, Washington Post. Along the same lines, have you discussed anything with parents or anything about the support for Supreme Court reform?
Well, that's a brand new campaign. It's 3 days old. We've had this proposal since 2021. This is the coalition that came together in 2021 to say that the fastest, most direct and constitutional way to deal with this illegitimate court is to expand the court by 4 seats. So we've said that consistently in all of 2021, 22, 23, and now into 24. So our views are very well known. These are some of the most important public interest groups in the nation. Amongst other things, they are organizations whose agendas will be affected by the Chevron decision and the regulatory protections which can be placed upon the books to protect America's health and safety. So this is our coalition. I think the White House is very well aware of where we are and what we think is the best, fastest, most direct and constitutional way to bring this Supreme Court back from its extreme edges. Question anybody has on anything? Yes, ma'am. Okay.
How do you respond to concerns that adding additional seats could undermine the court and have other
The court has been expanded 7 times previously, including President Lincoln and President John Adams. So there is ample precedent for the expansion